Hello everyone and welcome to yet another recreational programming session with Mr. Zuzin. So, friends of mine on our Discord server are currently developing a new chat because Discord, after the change of the CEO, is apparently going to go to shit in a year, right? So we usually know how it goes, so they're experimenting and trying to develop their own chat. And right, I heard about this very interesting messaging library for C, and they're doing that in C. And I thought that maybe this library could be of any use for such project, right? So I suggested it, but I can't really endorse this library because I know almost nothing about it, except that, well, it's like I heard about it. All right, and I heard a lot of people prize this library, but I never tried it myself. So, and because of that, I thought that this sounds like a perfect opportunity for a Slopic. Right, so let's look into this library. Right, so apparently it is pure C library, right, and it's for networking and asynchronous I/O. So let's read, what is it's all about. So ZeroMQ, also known as these weird spellings, looks like an embeddable networking library, but acts like a concurrency framework. It gives you sockets and carry atomic messages across various transports like in-process, inter-process, TCP, and multicast. You can connect sockets end-to-end with patterns like fan-out, pub-sub, task distribution, and request reply. It's fast enough to be the fabric for clustered products, and a synchronous I/O model gives you scalable multi-core applications built as a synchronous message processing task and has a score of language APIs and runs on most operating fucking systems. Fuck yeah. Fuck. Okay, so but I know nothing about it, so I can't neither, endorse it nor something else. So let's take a look at it. I wonder if it actually exists in the Void repos, right? So I actually never checked it. So is there something like a ZeroMQ? Okay, so it does in fact exist. It's intelligent transport layer. So high-level bindings for C. So, but it's written in C, isn't it? Right. So it is in fact written in C. So we can actually take a look at GitHub, and there is a lot of bindings in here. There is a lot of bindings. So here's the libzmq. And wait, it's written in C++? I always thought it's written... I was lied to. I always thought that... Ew! Ew! Brother, ew! Disgusting! Okay, well, I mean, this is not a showstopper, right? So, but I always thought it's just like a pure C library. So that means, like, it only has just C bindings. Man, that's the first disappointment. That's the first disappointment. All right. And I wonder, the thing I want to actually try, is probably look at what files this package ships with, right? So let me actually open TeamUX, right? Do this thing one more time so I can actually copy paste this kind of thing. So I find it a little bit more convenient to use TeamUX to select and copy paste things. Okay, so let's actually take a look at the files that this entire thing ships with. Okay, so there's a curve kgen. Right, so there's a bunch of man pages and there's a so. It doesn't ship with header files, and this is probably because all of that is in the devil, right? The devil is in details. Right, so here are the headers and stuff like that. Surprisingly, it's just like H files, even though it is apparently written in C++. So I'm actually thinking, should I just install the one that basically comes with Void, or try to build this thing from scratch? I kind of low-key want to build it from scratch, even though CI is failing. But I mean, it's like it's a minor fail apparently, right? So nothing particularly special. Should I try it? Should I try to build it from scratch? Okay, let's actually give it a try, right? So let's actually see how easy it is to build from scratch. It has a lot of commits, by the way, so I'm not sure if it's a good idea to do a full commit, right? So maybe we're gonna do a shallow commit. On top of that, it doesn't come with any of the vendoring dependencies, so we'll probably have to do like you know, recursive clone, right? So to do all of these submodules and stuff like that. Okay, let's fucking go. So we have third party. Let's do git clone, and let's do something like a depth 1, right? So it's a depth 1 git. And I only said that it probably has to be a recursive one. Recursive. Let's fucking go. And recursive, I said, mother flipper. All right, let me see my team. So it was fast. So it doesn't even come with any of the dependencies or anything like that. We'll probably have to install them ourselves. All right, so libzmq, what do we have in here? So I suppose we have CMake, a classical CMake, and even a Docker file. A Docker file. Okay, so let's actually create the build folder, and let's do CMake .. Let's fucking go. A bunch of phones and stuff like that. So far so good, a lot of successes. So a bunch of warnings though. Is not known to ctest. So it's saying something about blah blah blah, but I suppose it doesn't really matter. So it's something about CMake and scheiße. So it should not really prevent us from just going ahead and building this entire thing in 16 threads. How about that? Building in 60 threads. I should have actually set up the prefix, I think. No build.rs. Yeah, where is the build.zig? Wait a second, I want to actually try that. Just a second. Build.zig. Has anyone tried to sneak in? Holy fucking shit! They fucking tried it! The motherfuckers tried it! Oh! Oh! So, as I already said, I don't want to have yet another build system. Ah! Freaking Zigooners! I swear to God. Like, they're trying to shove it fucking everywhere. And rightfully so, they get slapped for trying to do that in a freaking serious projects. Because that's what you get for annoying developers. Man, I'm gonna give this library a star just for that. Just for fucking that, I'm gonna give it a star. Fucking base. Fucking base. What's the deal with Zig build? So, the thing is, Zig community came up with a genius scheme of promoting their language. So basically they made a universal build system that uses Zig that you can use with C project and C++ projects. And now they're shoving it everywhere. Right. So, and the thing about that build.zig is that it also automatically recognized by this language thingy in here. So, when they manage to sneak in a build.zig, a zig will appear here in the languages, prompting people who are looking into the project to just see, okay, so what is this zig language? They start Googling and this is how they discover. So this is basically a promotion scheme. And I called it out many times, and now they're trying to move away from that. They created some sort of like a centralized repo. So they fully understand what the fuck they're doing. They fully understand what the fuck they're doing, and they're now backing off trying to create like a centralized thing where you don't have to push build.zig in every single repo. So like, to be fair, I'll have to give them a credit. It's kind of a genius scheme. It's kind of a genius scheme, right? So, but at the same time, it's freaking annoying, right? So I respect the hustle, but I find it at the same time pretty annoying. But anyways, so we managed to build this entire thing, and I think I made a mistake. I should have actually set up the prefix, right? So let me try to do something like ccache. Where's the prefix? Right, so the prefix automatically, it just installs in user.local. I want it to be installed, I think, in home streamer, opt libzmq, right? So I didn't set this entire thing up front. Right, so, and let's just give it a try. So I'm going to try to rebuild the whole thing, hopefully, yeah. So it didn't require like a full rebuild, and now if I try to install this entire thing, it's going to be installed in that folder. Right, so looks like it in fact did. So let me actually see libzmq. So it has a bunch of bin things in here, right? So I don't really know what they are all about. And here we have includes, which look like C, honestly. Even though all of that stuff is written in C++, Apparently, I can just use it in C without any additional binding, like I initially thought. Okay, so that's understandable. And honestly, look at this header file. This is the entirety of the interface, right? It's not even 1,000 lines of C code. So that means the interface of ZeroMQ is rather minimalistic. Right, it's pretty minimalistic. I can respect that. Okay, lib64. So this is what we got. We got just like a library, probably a static library, and also a bunch of dynamic libraries. We got configuration files for CMake, which is basically an industry standard. Like I can shit on CMake as much as I want, but it is an industry standard, right? So, and I know how to use CMake. I wrote CMake commercially and non-commercially. I kind of hate it, but it is what it is. It's basically an industry standard. And on top of that, you have package config things, right? So it's the stuff for the package config command, which automatically just gives you flags for different packages, right? So and stuff like that. I don't remember how to use that. So is there something like a list of all the packages? Yeah, there is. So package config list all, right? So this is the things that you have. Anything, do I have SDL? Right, so for instance, one thing you can do, okay, so give me the C flags for SDL and also the library flags for SDL. Right, so, and it's supposed to be sort of like a cross-platform way of figuring out what kind of flags you have to put to link and compile with that library. But the thing is, package config itself is not particularly cross-platform. Some POSIX systems just don't have it. Right, so by itself, it's a third-party dependency, but anyway. And that's about it, right? So it's actually pretty simplistic. Right, so you can just try to use this thing right away, except I don't know what this all is all about. So in proc lat, and honestly, none of these things tell me what the fuck those things are. I can try to maybe go into third-party ZeroMQ and stuff like that and just grab this entire thing. Just, okay, so probably there's some files with this specific name, right? So there's some files, and I have a feeling that these are just examples. I have a weird feeling that these are just examples, so they are in a folder perf. So it's usually related to performance. There's not that... yeah, so here they are. Here are all of these things. It's something about performance, and I suspect this is just basically benchmarks. So this is what I suspected this. So usage connect to message size, yeah. So it measures something. As you can see, it measures the latency and tells you the latency. Maybe it's some tools for different benchmarks and stuff like that. So if you take a look at the help, so there's not really help and they don't really explain you what the fuck it all is. So maybe we're not gonna need any of that stuff, right? So latency and threading maybe. Yeah, so it's just like some tools for measuring things. I don't really know. But anyway, so let's go ahead and maybe try to use this. So far, so good, right? So far it's really simple, right? So I don't see anything special. So ZeroMQ, hello, right? So this is going to be just hello. And since it's a networking library, I think the hello world of the networking library is basically an echo server, right? So let's actually go ahead and maybe rename this entire thing to ZeroMQ echo, right? So I'm going to create main.c. And if I go to OPT in here, so the include, we just include ZeroMQ, ZeroMQ.h, and I'm going to just do printf hello world, like so, and maybe also include stdio, stdio. I'm not going to accept any arguments yet, so let's try to compile this entire thing. So maybe I'm going to use makefiles. Right, so just don't want to copy the entire knob in here. So what we're going to do is just I'm going to try to compile the whole thing, and obviously it is not going to compile. That is going to be expected, and that's my goal. Right, so as you can see, it cannot find ZeroMQ. Right, so let's actually make it search in a home, opt lib ZeroMQ include. Can you find this shit now? Okay, so maybe it's not located in there. So probably, first of all, I have to do something like that. Right, so opt lib ZeroMQ include. Yeah, you should be able to find this thing. It cannot find that. Is that because I have to put quotes in here? Oh, wait. Ah. I keep forgetting that the the variable expansion in makefiles are different from the shell. I keep forgetting about that. So you're supposed to do something like that. There we go. So we managed to compile all of that stuff. We managed to compile. Okay, so that's pretty cool. This thing doesn't really link with ZeroMQ because we didn't even try to use any of the functions, but at least it found the header. It found the header and it compiled, right? So that means the header at least is syntactically correct. So, which is good. So it passed that test. All right, so what else do we have in here? What kind of stuff do we even have in here? We can check a version of ZeroMQ. I'm not sure if I really care about the version right now. So what else do we have in here? A bunch of macros, nothing particularly special, some integers. They define their own integers and or something, right? So it's probably, ooh, this is interesting because these kind of types in C are relatively old. So that means ZeroMQ was developed from the times when C didn't have these types yet. Right, so it's a pretty old library. This is what I can tell from just looking at the header in here. Okay, so there's a ZeroMQ error, no, right, so it just tells you the last error, I suppose. We can take a look at what it says. This function retrieves the error no as it is known to ZeroMQ library. The goal of this function is to make the code 100% portable, including where ZeroMQ compiled with a certain CRT libraries on Windows is linked to an application that uses different CRT library. That is very interesting. So they're all about cross-platformability. You can also check the version of ZeroMQ at runtime. So the macros above were for checking ZeroMQ at compile time. This is probably for runtime. That is understandable. By the way, this sounds like a very cool test of actually linking with ZeroMQ correctly, right? So this is what we can try to do. Let's actually fetch you know, the version of ZeroMQ that we're using right now. This is a very freaking cool test. I never thought about it. Right, so let's actually do something like this. I don't even know. Right, so we don't really have to take them by a pointer. Let's actually define them like this. And now take this thing and just put boom. There you go. We got the versione. And then we can say ZeroMQ version and just like print each and individual version like that. Right, so this is going to be measure. Might as well, by the way, do a little bit of a copy-paste-a-rooney. Copy-paste-a-rooney, and there you go. Who needs LLMs if you can just copy-paste? LLMs are for people with a skill issue who can't copy-paste, and there you go. So it didn't link because we didn't try to link with ZeroMQ. So interestingly, we can try to do something like LZMQ, right? So let's just try to link it, and it's not going to work because it couldn't find it, right? So that means we just need to specify leflug to find this entire thing. So this is going to be lib64 if I'm not mistaken, right? So libzmq, lib64, and here are the libraries, right? So it's probably gonna link with a SOV library. Okay, so, and it couldn't find it. Let's look at that Scheisse one more time. Oh, no, I forgot to actually put L in here. There we go. So it successfully linked. So, and now if I try to run this entire thing, it couldn't find it, right? So because it linked with the dynamic library. So you have to set our path correctly, right? Or just use a specific like environment variable and stuff like that. But there is a cool trick in here because we know that we have a static library here as well. Right, so here is the static library. We can actually explicitly tell this thing to link with that static library and cut out all of that dynamic bullshit, please. Right, so just cut out all. You can't easily cut out that dynamic bullshit. Look at that, because that means you also need to statically link with C++ runtime. So far, it was going so goddamn well. It was going so goddamn well until the C++ runtime kicked in. There you go. Zero cost abstractions my ass, motherfucker. Zero cost abstractions, like not a single fucking cost of any of these abstractions. Look at this, all of these lightweight abstractions. Look at all of them. Yep. So, well, I mean, one way we can remedy that is just by basically linking dynamically, right? So, I guess, like, if you're using this library from C, that's probably what you have to do. Author has posted about this. Why I should have written ZeroMQ in C, not C++. Holy shit. Okay, so I respect that, honestly. I honestly respect that they are aware of this problem, because it's kind of obvious if you just try to do that. I wonder if that's an IP grabber or something. Probably not, but I'm gonna trust you. Even though you're not a subscriber, I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna open this link. Okay, so let's take a look at that. This is actually kind of interesting. So TTS stream question mark? TTS stream. Zozin become a TTS stream. A TTS. All right. So let's take a look at that. Why should I have written ZeroMQ in C and not Z++? So maybe I can actually do something like, so you can actually see everything. Just to be clear, from the very beginning, this is not going to be a Torvaldish rant about C++ from the point of view of die-hard C programmer. I'm already like, okay, so this is not interesting. Right. So yeah, I don't know. So they're gonna talk about linking. So we're gonna talk about linking, right? So they don't even talk about linking, but here we go. Like, I can never be a TTS streamer because I lose interest in articles very quickly. I just can't focus on reading things, right? So, but the only thing that I care about is that the author of the library is aware, right, that C++ is probably not a perfect language for this kind of library, and I respect that. So I'm gonna put that in the description, right? So I'm gonna put that in the description. So let me actually do this kind of thing in here, and here is the article. You can read it yourself. You can read it yourself. Anyways, so let's actually continue. Let's actually continue. So we need to link dynamically with this entire thing, right? So this is what we have to do. LZMQ. Right, so let's see. And if I try to take a look at LDD of this entire thing, it cannot find libzmq, right? So one way to sort of fix that is to use LD library path, right? So LD library path, I can set it to home opt libzmq lib64. I wonder if it's going to be to work with LDD. Right, if I try to do that, it finds everything very quickly, and this is the way we can actually run the whole thing. Right, so I kind of lost my history. Yeah, here is the history. I should actually just take, I didn't want to open it. I should just take this entire thing, and now I can try to run main. And as you can see, I managed to successfully run our application, and this is a ZMQ version 4.36 blah 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 blah. Right, so, but it's actually rather inconvenient to do it like this. One way we can actually fix that, so I don't have to provide this entire thing every time, we can use our path, right? So GCC our path. So as far as I know, our path is basically a mechanism to bake that LD library path to essentially executable. So yeah, some people already backseating. Yeah, this is exactly what you have to do. I already used this mechanism, I think, in Mutualizer, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually see. So if I try to grab our path like this, it couldn't find it because it thought it's a flag, but I didn't mean a flag. There you go. So this is how you do that on Linux specifically, right? So you just pass it as a linker flag. So let's go ahead and try to maybe go to the make file. And now in here, we're just gonna put like this, and we can essentially grab the linking path, and put it in here. Right, so that's basically the final command line. I wonder if I can escape new lines in here and just have that as a nice list so I can see everything properly. Right, so this is what we have. This is main. This is sort of the input. Right, so this is that. And yeah, this is the linking stuff. And I wonder if I can just like now make the whole thing. And it looks like shit, by the way. Why does it look like shit? So if I enable white spaces, yeah, because here you have tabs instead of spaces, right? So there's a little bit of a differences. I wonder if I can Okay, so maybe this part could be replaced with tabs, and then the rest is sort of like, yeah, that's a little bit better. Is that a good command line? Is that a good command line? I'm not really sure. But anyways, so now if I take a look at LDD, it automatically finds all of the necessary dependencies, and I can just run my command like this. But this executable is not portable to different distros, right? So I won't be able to hand over that executable to you, and it's not going to work on your machine, unfortunately. Right, so to make it work on the machine, we have to statically link it. And to statically link it, we also have to statically link it with C++ runtime. Right, so, and I wonder how you can do that. What if you put it into container? The Industrial Revolution and its consequences. So, by the way, didn't they have the Docker file? Yeah, I think they in fact have a Docker file. Holy shit! Yeah, so you can actually put it. Yeah, you can put it in a Docker file. All right. So okay, this is very interesting. What if I try to link it with C++ then? That's a very interesting idea. So let me not link it like that, right? So we're not going to be linking it like that, and apparently this is not going to work very easily, right? So because there's some stuff in here that it, this is not convenient because I can't comment out like a certain things in here, so which is kind of annoying. Which means that what if I just move to build a sage? I think build a sage is a little bit better in this specific context. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, chat? You know what I mean? You know what I mean. You know what I mean, because now I can actually comment out things, right? So if I do plus and then build sh, home not found, and this is because in sh you actually have to do that differently, right? Because fuck you, Leatherman. Yeah. Oh, not found. It is still terminated. Like, I wonder how can I make it so. Does anybody know? How can I just like comment out certain things but also have slashes and stuff like that? Is that something I can do? Or is that an unsolved computer science problem? Right. Does anybody know? Or I can actually switch to knob, honestly. In knob, this is not a problem. Okay, we're fucking switching to knob because all of these build tools are fucking anal. We're switching to knob, motherfuckers. We're literally switching to knob. Okay, so where is the knob.h? Because the knob is just like, it's super fucking easy. Knob.c. Right, so it's gonna be knob implementation. Right, so knob strip prefixes. And by the way, I am aware that doing knob strip prefixes is annoying, and this is literally a thing that I'm constantly criticizing, right? So annoying default behavior, right? And then you have to disable an annoying default behavior. I am aware of that. It is at the back of my head to fix that. I do consider that a UX bug. I do consider that a UX bug, so and we're gonna fix that at some point in the future releases of knob. This is going to be the default, and then it's gonna be disableable in cases when you actually need that, right? So yeah, I am aware of that, right? So, but also I'm not perfect, right? So like I do set up high standards, right? But I myself not always can meet those standards, but I'm striving to, right? So I'm setting up high standard for myself as well. Right, for myself as well, and I'm being as harsh to myself as to others. Right, so anyways, yeah, I am aware that this is a little bit of a UX issue, and ideally, right, so you shouldn't do that, right? So because this is the behavior that you kind of want by default, right? So this is the behavior that you kind of want by default. So I'm gaining experience. I'm gaining knowledge. So argc, char argv, knob go. Can I open knob.h so I can have auto completion in here? Argv, and now we can just go ahead. Now we can just go ahead and copy paste this entire thing. And yeah, so let's freaking go. I wonder if I can easily do things. So, okay, so there's one disadvantage of knob is that I have to hard code home. Not necessarily, honestly, not necessarily. One of the things I can always do something like home and get env home, right? So, but I mean, it will also would be nice to actually check that home is not equal to null, right? So because who knows on which kind of system you can do all of that stuff. And then if you want to do this kind of thing, right, you probably want to do it like this, right? So this is going to be that. Right, so let's actually extend this thing to maybe somewhere here. Yeah, so something like this, and then you can do sprintf, actually temp sprintf, like this home. This is how you would do that in knob, right? So that's how you would actually do that in knob. Right, so in here, so I want to remove all of these things. I want to maybe put this kind of thing in here, tmp sprintf, like so. This is home. This one also goes somewhere here, tmp sprintf, like so. Here we have home. And that's about it, honestly, right? So I might as well want to wrap all of these things in sort of like quotes, and this thing in quote, and this thing in quote, and there we go. We're almost ready. We only need to allocate cmd array on the stack and maybe realign things so it's a little bit easier to do a little bit of an Emacs magic, and we're ready to do a little bit of an Emacs magic. Chat, are you freaking ready? Are you freaking ready for a little bit of an Emacs magic? I'm gonna put comma in here. Maybe not even a comma, but yeah, so let's actually put semicolon, right? So wrap all of that stuff in parentheses, then cmd append, and we're gonna do cmd boom. And you know why all of this stuff is cool? Because now I can easily comment out this entire thing. Can your bash do that? Can your make file do that? I don't fucking think so, my friend. So let's actually go and maybe knob run sync. I think it was run sync. Oh, it was a cmd run sync and reset. It's a little bit also annoying name, but it kind of evolved like that. I know that it's a usability issue. I'm gonna fix that in next release. Don't worry about it. We're gonna fix all of the issues. Don't freaking worry about that, chat. Don't freaking worry, okay? Chat, calm down. Don't, I said don't worry about it. I'm gonna fix all of that, okay? Okay, calm down, chat. Chat, calm down. Calm down. All right, so let's fucking go. Boom. It just worked. So, and now I can go ahead, disable this thing. Boom. And now without this thing. Then enable. Boom. It's so freaking convenient, and it's also cross-platform. That shell and make file shit, that is not cross-platform. That is not as cross-platform as C, because even on different POSIX systems, there are deviations between shell dialects and make file dialects. It is very fucking difficult to write a shell and make file scripts that are portable across all of the POSIX system. This motherfucker is portable everywhere. It's standard compliant. This shit is more portable than shell. It's actually insane that we get ourselves into this situation where this thing is fucking more portable than shell. Like, how the fuck did we get here? I don't freaking know, but it is what it is. That's what we got. So yeah. Now we can experiment with things, right? So now we can experiment with things. And one of the things I want you to do, I want you to do this stuff, right? So I'm going to disable this kind of thing. And now I probably want to try to compile statically, right? So here's one thing. I'm going to, comment it out, and I'm going to explicitly say, okay, use the what is it called, static library, right? So use the static library, and as you can see, we got some scheisse in here, and it, like, I had to control C because this is how many freaking symbols it tried to put in there. So let's try to explicitly use the C++ compiler, right? Right now we're using CC, and because of the extension of this file, it recognizes it as C program and doesn't link with C++ runtime and stuff like that. What if I say, okay, so let's use C++? Is it going to be better? Okay, so it kind of is a little bit better. except that it wants explicit linking with GNU TLS stuff. GNU TLS stuff. I wonder if, like, where do I even get that stuff? By the way, can I just have something like static? It's already taken, but it's, I mean, yeah, it's already taken. Let's go with static, right? So, and it's gonna be true. If static, right? If static, we're gonna use G++. Otherwise, we're gonna be using CC. Like, look how powerful this thing is. Right, so I can now have variables and I can switch between different flags and stuff like that. And it's like very natural, very convenient. Okay, so if it is static, right? So if it is not static, we're doing our path thingy, right? So, and if it is not static, we're doing just a regular ZeroMQ. But otherwise, if it is static, we're doing something like that. So now I can actually switch between these different things. So I just do that, right? So, and I can then flip this thing like that. Now it's doing not static. Now it's doing dynamic, but now I can try to do static. Okay. So the reason why I want you to do that, I want you to flip off this entire thing and take a look at the dependencies of this entire stuff. So it does have GNU TLS, right? So it does have GNU TLS, and this is probably what I have to link with, I suppose. Right, so let me try to do true. And here, if it is not static, we can try to do GNU TLS, right? It's literally what we can try to link with. And I wonder if it's going to work, because as you can see, GNU TLS is actually located in a system path, right? It is located in a system path. And yeah, so, and it didn't find any of these shit, surprisingly. It didn't find so undefined reference to any of that stuff, which is surprising to me, right? Maybe this is because it couldn't find any of that stuff. We can try to maybe add the L path to user. Where was it, by the way? Where was it? So I'm gonna enable static false. I'm gonna recompile the whole thing. I'm gonna take a look at LDD. So this is a GNU TLS. Where is the GNU TLS? I didn't freaking see GNU TLS. So what if I put L in here, right? What if I put L in here? And this is where we're going to be searching for this entire thing. Hopefully it will actually find it, right? So now let's try to do static, and it still cannot find it. All right, so I'm going to declare it as an unsolved computer science problem, right? So I gave it a fair try. And like, it's not obvious how to do that. Like, I'm pretty sure you can do that. But it's not obvious and it's not easy. Wrong if? Oh, you say it's a wrong. Okay. So, okay, chat, calm down. Calm down. Okay, so we have to probably put something like that. Okay, so it's fine. Right, so, okay, so it works. And it's not even that static, honestly, right? It's not even that static, but at least it does not depend on ZeroMQ anymore, right? So it depends on all of the external things in here, but it doesn't depend on ZeroMQ. Okay, so, and it also depends on C++ runtime and stuff like that. And you also have to use C++ compiler, right? So this is what you have to do if you want to like link it statically, right? So, but it's not going to be even static anyway, because it has a shit ton dynamic dependencies to facilitate the library itself. So, and if you're going to be doing that, you might as well just abandon the whole static idea altogether, right? Just like abandon the whole static idea and just like let it, you know, let it be the way it is, right? So let's just have it like additional this dependency. So that's fine, I guess. But at the same time, maybe it's fine for such a heavy-duty library, right? So it really is a heavy-duty library, right? So it is expected to have like a lot of dependencies, right? So I hope that it does a lot of useful work for the amount of dependencies. So it depends on GNU TLS, so that means it can establish, you know, encrypted connections, which is pretty freaking cool, isn't it? Right, so being able to just easily establish, you know, encrypted connections is actually super cool, because like dealing with open TLS and GNU TLS and stuff like that is usually a pain in the ass, right? So what is a hogweed, by the way? I don't really know. Squeezing my hogweed. Okay, so I guess we're done with all of this scheisse, right? So we're done with trying to build this entire thing, and we kind of understand what kind of moving parts this library has. So let's try to freaking use this library already. Right, let's try to use it. So it's not static anymore, right? So let's actually build it as a static, and if I try to run this entire thing, it's a ZeroMQ. Okay, that's pretty cool. So what else do we have in here? Let's actually go to libzemq, include ZeroMQ.h, ZeroMQ.h, and ZeroMQ version. Let's take a look at the version. So here it is. Okay, so what else do we have in here? So there's a bunch of like context options, threads, and stuff like that. And the first thing you have to do apparently is to create a context. I haven't looked into how to use this library beforehand, but I see context new. Well, I guess this is what you have to do, because it kind of makes sense, right? So it's a usual pattern, right? It's a usual pattern. You also have an old legacy API, which we probably should not use, right? So we should probably not use, and this is the thing that we have to use. Okay, let's go ahead and create a context. Like, I have no idea what the fuck context is, right? So, but I'm gonna just go ahead and create it. I'm gonna fucking create, okay. So ctx. So, and we just created it. And one thing we can try to do is just like check what it's gonna look like, right? Is it going to return null, or is it not going to return null? I don't freaking know. Let's fucking go. And return null. Fascinating, isn't it? Right, fascinating. So, interestingly, we can try to see oh yeah, I'm sorry, ctx. Wait a freaking second. Why compiler didn't tell me? I forgot all of the nice flags and shit. Bravskis. So it didn't tell me because I forgot all of the flags. Right, so let's actually do cmd. So let's put w all, w extra, and I guess that's about it, right? So yeah. Usually I don't like a lot of warnings, but the thing is, C is a shitty language. So it kind of needs a lot of warnings, right? So like it kind of needs that, because again, the language is pretty shitty by itself. W format situation is crazy. Exactly. It is pretty crazy, not gonna lie. Okay, we created the context. So I suppose this is terminate the context, and this is to shut down the context. I have no idea what the fuck that means, right? So it also, context apparently has setters and getters, and it has different options, and you can set and get different options. And look how the context is opaque, right? So it is intentionally opaque, so you don't know its structure. So that means like you kind of have to know the structure at runtime. You can't know it at compile time. Right, so that's one thing about ZeroMQ. You have a context, and context is very dynamic, it's opaque, and I suppose different versions may have or not have certain options. All right, so let's take a look at some other things. So ZeroMQ message definition. So it's some nodes for different architectures of the CPU. So here is the message. Interesting. So, and the message has a limited size, 64 bytes. Okay, that's very interesting. So you also have, you can do free. All right, that's very interesting. So you have a message, and you can initialize that message. And you can also initialize the size and stuff like that. So, and message apparently is also a very opaque thing, because like it's obvious that you're not supposed to look into that. Like it has a size of 64 bytes, and you're not supposed to know what's inside of those bytes. The only thing you're allowed to know about ZeroMQ message is that its size is 64 bytes. And I suppose the rest of the stuff you're supposed to interact with that message through all of these functions, right? So you're supposed to send them over S, which is another sort of opaque thing, and we don't know if it's a context or not context. One remark I would like to have for this library is it would be kind of nice if they had all of the aliases for different opaque types. They have a lot of opaque types apparently, right? So they have opaque type for the context, they have opaque type for this thing, and I can only assume that this is a socket. And I assume that because I have a little bit of experience with networking, right? So I know that send and receive are classical socket functions, and this thing is located in a traditional location for a socket. So I just assume that, and on top of that, it has the word S, right? It would be kind of cool if the API was self-explanatory, and for all of these opaque types, you at least had aliases like type defs. Right. So, but suppose if you got yourself familiarized with this library, you don't really need any of that. Right, so yeah, so that's the only remark I have, but it's not like it's a very minor one. All right, so you can set and stuff like that. So, and interestingly, like I don't really know how to create such socket. And by the way, if I had an alias for this specific type, I could have just grabbed where that type is used, and I could have found the socket creation functions and stuff like that. Socket indeed. Okay, and here is the socket definitions. As you can see, here are the socket definitions. So there's a bunch of things in here like socket types, and there's much more socket types than just, you know, TCP and UDP and stuff like that. There's a pair, pub, sub, rec, rep, dealer, router, pool, push, all the socket types. Okay, that's pretty cool. Socket options, like different socket options and stuff like that. That's a lot of options. That's a lot of options. Holy shit. Okay. Ooh, yeah. So this library apparently supports a lot of things. It supports a lot of things. Like, and ooh. Okay, and finally, this is how you create the socket. This is how we create the socket. So you create the socket, and you can then close it, I suppose. You can also bind it, you can connect, unbind, disconnect, and stuff like that. Let's give it a freaking try. I think I'm ready to try it. I'm gonna make a wildest assumption that this parameter is context. Again, they didn't put even a name for this thing. They didn't put any alias, but maybe that's kind of the whole point. The fact that I managed to figure out is actually testimony that maybe it's already self-explanatory, right? Even though all of that shit is opaque, I can kind of figure out that I have to put a context in there. Okay, let's fucking go. So here's the context, and so I suppose this is going to be le socket, right? So I put the context in here, and I have to provide the type, and we already looked into some of the types of le sockets. Let me see what kind of types of le sockets I can use in here. So there's a ZeroMQ pair. They don't really explain what is a ZeroMQ pair. Is that a pair of sockets, or what is that? So there is a string. Okay, so let's create a string, right? Pub sub, pub sub. I don't know. Like, okay, so there is a reason why pair is the first sort of like a socket type. Maybe we should start with that. Let's actually put ZeroMQ pair in here. Okay, so, and let's go ahead and just print what we managed to create in here. So again, I'm intentionally not reading documentation, right? So if you're new to this channel, you might be interested like why I'm not reading documentation. I'm doing that intentionally to figure out how self-explanatory and intuitive this library is, right? So I'm not going to be reading documentation until I stumble upon a roadblock, right? So, and I won't be able to figure it out myself. Pair is probably sync. Probably. So I assume from the name that it's just like pair of connection, right? So one connection and another connection. So just they connect together and that's it. So that's basically what's going on. Anyways, right. So let's just go ahead and try to run this entire thing, and we managed to create a socket, which is kind of cool. I have no idea what to do with that socket, honestly. Right. So and maybe that's the first major roadblock. Right. So ZeroMQ le socket. So and I can probably bind it to a certain address, right? So usual thing that you do on a server, right? So I want to create a server-side thing, right? I'm going to be creating a server-side thing. You create a socket and you bind it to address, and then you have to listen to an address, right? Does it have a? It doesn't even have a listen. That's very interesting. So ZeroMQ listen. Aha, this is actually very interesting. So they removed the listen step. Because usual thing that you do with sockets is you bind it and then you explicitly say listen, but here they don't do that. Very freaking interesting. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to bind this entire thing. We're going to be binding it, and it's returning some sort of a code. And I suppose through that code, we indicate an error. And I don't really know what is usual error indication. Is that a zero value or non-zero value, right? So I might assume that maybe it's kind of difficult to assume. We'll see. All right, so here I'm supposed to provide the socket, and here we put an address, but luckily address is just a string. Unlike with the usual socket situation where you have to deal with these weird POSIX structures where you have to put bytes in a certain byte order, which is a network byte order, right? So you have to use special conversions and stuff like that. Here they accept a string. Here they just accept a string, which I assume means that I can put shit like this. Right, so 127.001.69.69. I'm gonna just assume that. Right, because this library, listen, look at the amount of dependencies this mother flipping library has. If for this amount of dependencies you can't parse a human readable string, get the fuck out of here. We already spent an hour dealing with the linking. If you do not do that for me, straight into the trash. Honestly, I spent way too much time figuring out the like linking stuff. If you're not going to do that for me, okay. Anyway, but I mean, it's fair, isn't it? I think it's fair. So let's actually try to print the return situation. All right. Okay. So let's try to run it, and it returned 58. So first of all, I forgot to put this thing in here, and return -1, which is a clear indication of an error, honestly. In no context, -1 usually means a success. So people say TCP, but I want to first figure out what the fuck happened exactly. Right, so let's actually try to do something like this. If it is negative, let's print ZeroMQ error, right? And we know how to get an error, right? So because this is something that we had at the beginning of the thing, right? So ZeroMQ error no, right? So we can take a look at ZeroMQ error no. ZeroMQ error no, like what does it say? And obviously we can actually return non-zero exit code. Right, so it's a 22. And we can now convert this entire thing to a string. So ZeroMQ str, I mean, it has to be like this. Str error, like this, and close it like that, boom. Invalid argument. Okay, so I presume that the invalid argument is this one. And the chat says that it's supposed to be TCP // and fuck you, chat. Why did you spoil that shit for me? This is spoilers. This is literal spoilers. Like, I wanted to figure that out myself, just to test how intuitive the library is, and you literally spoil. All right, right. Well, that's pretty cool, right? Apart from the spoilers, it's kind of cool that they can specify the protocols like that. Honestly, so yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Like I can have URLs in here. That's pretty cool. It would be kind of nice if the error also told us exactly what the fuck has happened. Maybe I can get the details about the error that happened. So I don't really know, but anyway. So we managed to bind this entire thing. Can I run it several times? Yeah, so I can actually run it as many times as I want, right? So it doesn't error out because the, the address is already in use and stuff like that. You know, the classical usual socket situation, right? So you run it once, then you run it again, and the address is in use because you forgot to set that one option, you reuse address. the classical situation. Does it support things like HTTP, by the way? No, it doesn't support. Protocol not supported. Look at that. Look at that, motherfucker. So it actually says us what is going on. Right, so what other protocols can you have? Can I have like UDP? Protocol is not compatible with the socket. Ooh. Okay, so what kind of socket type do you want? Do you want stream? Well, I mean, UDP is not a stream protocol. Nah. So it's a pub. Sub. Nah, I don't know. We'll figure it out later, right? So we'll figure it out later. So, and for now, I kind of want to use TCP. Okay, so we got TCP. All right, so let's go here. So TCP bind and yeah. Next thing that we usually do, we have to keep accepting connections. If we are a server, we're accepting connections. So is there something like ZeroMQ accept? There is no accept in here. You can bind shit, but you can't accept. You can try to receive some stuff, but I don't think it's that useful. So you can pull some stuff. You can pull some stuff. ZeroMQ streamer? Chat. Das me. You know what is the opposite of streamer? Forwarder. So there's this streaming platforms like Twitch, and we need to have a forwarding platforms. So there's also ZeroMQ devices. Honestly, I don't fucking understand what is going on in any of this shit in here. So that means the time has come. The time has come for a freaking documentation. I think the time has come because I can't understand shit. Right. So this is how far I managed to go without reading documentation. And I think I actually hit the first roadblock. So let's open this communist website and click documentation. Click documentation. All right. So what do we have in here? So how to contribute, download, license messages. Okay. So we have socket API. That's pretty cool. Sockets are the de facto standard API for network programming. That's why ZeroMQ presents a familiar socket-based API. One thing that makes ZeroMQ especially tasty to developers is that it uses different socket types to implement any arbitrary messaging patterns. Furthermore, ZeroMQ sockets provide a clean abstractions over the underlying network protocol, which hides the complexity of those protocols and makes switching between them very easy. How about it? Key differences to conventional sockets. Generally speaking, conventional sockets present a synchronous interface to either connection-rated reliable byte streams, socket streams, or aka TCPs, or connectionless unreliable datagram, SOC, DGRAM, or UDP. Honestly, they make it sound like there is a several SOC stream sockets and SOC DGRAMs, but kind of like technology evolved that there is only one SOC stream protocol, which is TCP, and there's only one SOC DGRAM protocol, which is UDP, right? And nobody has any plans to invent more of them. Right, so it's just like nobody gives a shit, but we're trying to be pretentious in here, right? So, but anyway, in comparison, ZeroMQ sockets present an abstraction of an asynchronous message queue. That's probably why it doesn't have accept, right? So because accept is more of a synchronous pattern, right? Accept is a synchronous pattern, but here we have an asynchronous message queues, and yeah, okay. So you literally have to work with all of that completely differently. Okay, so with the exact queuing schematics depending on the socket types in use, where conventional socket transfer streams of bytes or discrete datagrams, ZeroMQ sockets transfer discrete messages. Okay, ZeroMQ sockets being asynchronous means that the timings of the physical connection setup and teardown, connect and reconnect and effective delivery are transparent to the user and are organized by ZeroMQ itself. This is freaking cool. So it does automatic reconnects and shit. So it's just like, yeah, you can just set up the connection sort of like architecture scheme and don't worry about everything else. It will just do like all of that stuff for you, right? It's all figured out by smarter people than you, as usual. Furthermore, messages may be queued in the event that a peer is unavailable to receive them. That's very cool. Conventional sockets allow only strict one-to-one, two peers, many-to-one, many clients, one server, or in some cases one-to-many multicast relationships. With the exception of pair sockets, ZeroMQ sockets may be connected to multiple endpoints. And this is the sockets that we're using right now. While simultaneous accepting incoming connections from multiple endpoints bound to the socket, thus allowing many-to-many relationships. So with ZeroMQ, you can have many-to-many apparently. So that's pretty cool. Where's the code? Oh, and they're talking about bind versus connect and stuff like that. Socket lifetime. I'm bored. Chat. I'm bored. Where is the code? Okay, so we're not going to be reading that because there's no code. Yeah, so this documentation is not for me. This documentation is definitely not for me. We need to find the right documentation for me. Okay, so this is a different kind of documentation, so it kind of changed. Like, look, it's a different style, and the guide is just like... Okay, so we have basics. Do we have anything in basics? Wall of text. I want to read the wall of text. We already know how to build all this shit. Go away. Okay, sockets and patterns. How to create and work with ZeroMQ sockets. Okay, so it's not even clickable, surprisingly, but anyway. Okay, so you expecting me? Okay, in proc. That's a very interesting protocol. I'm interested only in pieces of the code. I'm only interested in pieces of the code. Okay, so this is an interesting piece of the code. So you can set an amount of threads for the context, apparently. That's pretty cool. I'm not interested in that. Message patterns, I'm not interested in any of that, though I'm kind of interested in maybe... So pops up and stuff like that. Too much yapping, honestly. This is another remark that I would like to have for this library. Documentation, too much yapping, too little examples. A lot of yapping. Like, you could have done yapping with examples. You could have just provided a complete example and then do the yapping explaining the example. All of that yapping is just kind of uncalled for. Like, I'm not interested. Like, any examples? All right. And there's no even complete examples. It's yet another documentation anti-pattern where they have patches of codes that are not consistent. And like, how am I supposed to create a complete example out of these weird patches between the yapping? Right. You know what I'm talking about? It's just like incomplete patches, which makes them useful between walls of yapping. Like, how, like, I don't freaking know, man. I don't freaking know. So, like, I'm scrolling through all of that, and it's just like, I just want to fall asleep. Like, where is the complete examples? Where is the complete examples? Where's those? Yep. Oh, finally! Holy shit! Holy shit! Like, again, like, when there's like, you kind of like lose concentration. Like, and I completely miss this entire thing. Right? So it's just like, less yapping. Like, I know that you need the data for LLMs and shit like that, but it's just like, give me examples. I want to do things. I want to hack things. Okay, so finally we have something interesting. And this is C++, by the way. This is C++. Look at that shit. And this is a ZeroMQ namespace. I'm actually really curious. So how does it work? Do you have a namespace? It doesn't have a namespace, so that means it's a specifically C++ bindings for ZeroMQ, which is kind of a separate thing. Like, I don't see ZeroMQ HPP in here. ZeroMQ, listen chat. ZeroMQ is written in C++. ZeroMQ is written in C++. Then they ship C bindings, C headers. And so then if you want to use C++ headers, you have to get them separately, even though their original library is written in C++. That is funny, isn't it? Don't you guys think? Don't you guys think that it's kind of funny? Right. Like, okay, I know that I can switch the language, it doesn't matter. Like, think about the irony of the situation. Chat, calm down. Calm the fuck down. Like, I know you can switch the language. It's not the point that I'm trying to make. Think about the irony. The library is written in C++. It ships automatically by default with C headers. But then if you want a C++ headers, you have to go and take them separately, even though original library is written in C++. Isn't that funny? Right, I think it's actually kind of funny. So yeah, I think it is actually kind of funny. But anyways, so, and what's interesting that in C++ bindings, they do have aliases for socket T, right? So do you have a socket T in here? No, you don't. But in C++ apparently they do. I wonder if I can actually find the C++ bindings. Just a second. So third-party ZeroMQ. So do you have ZeroMQ HPP? Like it's actually find type F ZeroMQ HPP. No, it doesn't even exist. Fascinating. Oh, it's even a separate repo. Bro. Oh my god. But the library is written in C++. And then C++ bindings are separate repo. Oh. I can see that, buddy. I can see it. I can see why. It's actually really freaking funny. Yep. Yep. So, and so where can I change the language? People say I don't see it. So, edit this example. Oh, okay. So it's in HPP. All right. So you can probably change it in here. Okay. So, and this is a server in C. Okay, so we didn't even have to do that. All right. So we can. Oh, this is actually kind of cool. Look at that. Look at that. You can actually say like listen to everything with a star. So that's kind of cool. So ZeroMQ rep socket to talk to clients, right? So create this kind of stuff, responder. And then in the buffer, you receive a bunch of stuff. You say hello, you do some work, and you send back world. Okay, that looks good, actually. That looks good. Interestingly, is that a blocking thing, though? Is that a blocking thing? I don't think it's a blocking thing. But anyway, so this is a hello world server, and we're going to just go ahead and try to maybe write something here. All right, so I'm going to be listening to local connections, right? So I'm not going to be listening to everything, right? So, and I'm gonna do while true, while we're gonna do this kind of stuff. And by the way, I haven't acknowledged the subs for quite some time, so I think the time has come to acknowledge the subs. So, Brooklyn Def, I think I already acknowledged you. LG, thank you so much for tier 1. Cool Robots and Stuff, thank you so much for tier 1. Simantre, thank you so much for tier 1 with the message. Thanks for all the educational content. I learned more from your streams than I did in university. Honestly, same. It is true for me as well, right? So I also went to university, pretty shaky university. I don't think I learned anything from there, but I also learned things from my streams, right? So because they are exploration streams, right? So, and I also learned a lot from them, way more than I learned in university, that's for sure. Okay, so they're talking about ZeroMQ rep, right? A rep. So I suppose rep stands for reply, right? So here's another sub. Thank you so much. I'm a robot for Twitch Prime with the message 43 Monkas. Crazy, mazy, freaky, freaking awesome. It is true. It is actually true, my friend. So I suppose it's a reply. There's also dealer. Ha, that's very interesting. Okay, so the thing is that I don't really know that many patterns of like networking and stuff like that. So if I knew all of these patterns, maybe it would be very intuitive for me, but unfortunately I don't know that many patterns. But anyways, so here we kind of pre-allocate the buffer, right? So we kind of pre-allocate the buffer, and then we're supposed to do ZeroMQ receive, right? So this is what we're supposed to do. Let's go to the ZeroMQ H, ZeroMQ receive. Receive. Here is la fonction. So it also accepts a bunch of flags in here. So we're supposed to put a socket in here and then a buffer. For the consistency, I want to call it lbuff. So here's lbuff, and then we have to provide the size of lbuff. So we can just use size off because it gives us the size in bytes, and character is a single bytes nonetheless. So in the example, they just put 0 in there, but I'm really curious what kind of flags you can put in there. Is there something like flags? Yeah, no. But anyways, whatever. So we got that. And I suppose it may return an error, but they just assume that the error may not happen. So that's totally fine. Okay, so we're going to do receive. And what I want to do, I think, I want to just send it back. Right, so let's actually create an echo server. So buff, and this is size of the buff. And I feel like this is not a correct thing to do. We should provide the size right in here, and I suppose this is where the size come into play, right? So it probably like returns how much you've sent. So we might as well actually print this entire thing. So let's actually do n equal to that, right? So my hypothesis is that the way it works is that it returns you 0 or positive number, which is the amount of bytes you received, or negative if it's an error, right? So let's just give it a try. All right, I'm gonna try to maybe rebuild it. I think it would be a good idea to actually rename it to Echo, or maybe even Echo Server, right? So this is an Echo Server, and let's actually do it like that. So Echo Server, and this is Echo Server. Alright, so I'm gonna try to rebuild the whole thing, and it rebuilt the Echo server. Let's try to run the whole thing, and it is waiting. I wonder, chat, if I can actually connect with telnet. So this is kind of interesting. What I want to do, by the way, I want to log where exactly we're listening. So I want to do something like address, and I'm going to put an address in here, and I'm going to put it like that. So after doing the bind, we can print something like listening to S, and this is going to be an address. This is actually kind of convenient, right? So the fact that this is just a string also means that I can very easily log it, right? So this is one of the advantages of this kind of stuff. All right, so, and as you can see, we're listening to 6969. Okay, so can I now do telnet, maybe even copy paste this entire thing? But if I remember correctly, I have to put a space between the address. Why did it give me a Docker file? Clipboards in Linux are pain in the arse. Boom. It doesn't fucking work. None of that fucking worked at all. Disgusting. And interestingly, like, did I put a new, yeah, so I in fact put a new line in there. All right, so I don't even know. So what we need to, we can try to maybe create a client. That's one thing we can do. Maybe you have to establish the connection in some certain way. I don't freaking know. Let's go ahead and create a client. Right, so interestingly now, what we can do, we can abstract out this entire code, right? So let's do something like boolean build xz, where I simply provide the, you know, source path and bin path, right? Maybe, yeah, output path. So this is what I provide. And in here, I probably also have to take command line as a pointer, because that's what we're going to be using here. And we can make static a global variable now. So this is a global variable. So I'm going to take this entire stuff, and just like literally copy paste it in here like this. So every time we do return, by the way, we don't really return that often. We can just simply return this entire thing, and that's fine. But one thing we have to do, we have to replace all of the references with just like this, because we're already passing CMD by a reference. So I also want to replace echo server with output path and the C with the input path, right? So this is going to be src path, like this. So now I should be able to do things build xz pointed to the CMD. What was the first one? Is a src, so that means it's an echo server C and then echo server. So and if it failed, we return -1. If I try to build the whole thing, it just builds that. And if I got home, which is rather interesting, which is rather ironic. So we can actually make home a global variable, right? And just at the very beginning, initialize it with the value, right? So I think that's fair, and that seems to be working. So, and now it is super easy to add another executable in here, right? So this is going to be client, boom. It's not going to build it, right? So because there is no echo client, so let's quickly create it, echo client.c, and I'm going to do something like this. Yeah, ZeroMQ.h, and let's just build the whole thing in here. Right, and I'm gonna just try to build that. Okay, that's pretty cool. So knob.h is extremely convenient because you can now evolve your build system like that. You have all of the abstraction mechanisms that you have in C. You can factor out things into functions, right? You have global variables and stuff like that, and it's nice. It's actually super nice. I don't have to abandon this entire mechanism of statics and stuff like that. I can now maybe build all of them as static, right? So now all of them are static and using G++ and so on and so forth, the thing that we did at the beginning of the stream, or I can just very easily disable that. Or I can wire this entire stuff as a flag of the build system, right? So it's extremely powerful. You don't need any of that, like makefile, build SH and stuff like that. So this is actually pretty cool. So it's not going to work on Windows, right? So because Windows has a different compiler, but that's a separate topic. Who writes networking applications for Windows? Am I right? It's an operating system for video games. It's for video games. It's not for serious server workload. You understand that? So that's what it is. It is what it is. I didn't make the rules. Okay. So what do we have in here? Let's actually always print the ZeroMQ version. I think it's a good idea. So here we're going to create the context, right? So here's the context, then we create the socket. And the kind of socket we have to create, do we have to create a rep socket on the client, or do we have to create a rec socket on the client? What do you guys think? Right, so because if a server is a reply server, it's like a reply guy, right? So that means the client has to be a request guy. Do I understand correctly? Both of them have to be rep. Erect. So I don't know, like, so both of the sockets have to be of the same type to be able to connect to each other. Rec socket is right. Oh, by the way, I believe you because you worked with ZeroMQ. Okay, so rec socket is right. So that means I guessed that correctly. So here's an address, and by the way, now I can create like a common shared file where the address is shared between client and server, right? So that's kind of cool. But now what I have to do, right? So I have to use ZeroMQ connect to be able to connect to all of that stuff, right? So let's actually go to ZeroMQ.h, ZeroMQ connect, where is the function responsible for the connect. So here's the function. We provide the socket, and we also provide the address. And it returns the return like this. Okay, so, and yeah, if it's less than 0, you probably have to say something similar to how we did that in a server. So I'm going to copy paste this entire stuff. And I suppose the most logical thing here would be to send something to the server, right? So send something to the server. Let's go ahead and do that. Right, so here is the socket. Here is the socket. Buffer. Buffon is not. So let's put some message. So here's the message, and it's gonna be hello. Right, we're gonna put message in here, then provide strlen message. And in terms of flags, let's not put any flags in there, right? And after that, we're gonna just like basically quit this entire thing. On top of that, I feel like it would be kind of nice to print something like connecting to S, like this, then sending message as, which is this. All right, so, well, I mean, it has to be number. All right, so it doesn't work because we have to include some of the stuff in here like string, otherwise we won't be able to do strlen, and that seems to be working. Okay, so that's pretty cool. This is not what I wanted. I'm gonna sneeze, by the way, chat. How do I forgot how, yeah, I forgot how we do things. Okay, so can I now go to probe, ZeroMQ echo? Maybe now I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, let's fucking go. So I'm gonna start the server. So let me rebuild one more time everything. So this is an echo server. We're listening to the shit. Now echo client, boom, and we didn't receive shit at all, completely. So it sent something, but I don't fucking know. So yeah, that is a bit bizarre. So if I try to echo client, did you receive? That's a good question, actually. I think I did. Look at that. So I would expect to at least get something from here, right? But it's just like it just looks, right? It just looks. We can try to maybe explore the value of a return. Right, so maybe return didn't actually return things. We can try to do that. So if I try to run that, it sent it successfully. It actually sent it successfully. Maybe it has to be rep. All right, so I'm going to change it to rep. Aha! Operation cannot be accomplished in current state. So yeah, it's async, process ended before send thread finished or started. So that means I have to do that in loop, constantly in loop. So that's a good point, actually. That's a good point. All right, so what if I literally gonna be doing that in a loop? While true. So it's kind of weird that I have to do it like that, but I mean, sure. So this is because I'm using the wrong, well, I mean, so it sent it a couple of times, but we never received it. So I would expect something on the server. Again, like something, a full example. Okay, so here is the client. And oh yeah, this is the client basically. So you send and receive back. This is basically what we're doing, but I don't plan to receive anything. Do I have to do the full cycle of send, receive, send, receive? Maybe that's what I have to do, right? So the reason why I didn't fully finish this entire thing is because I was hoping to see n. That's what I was hoping for, right? So, and then as I receive n, I can enable send and so on and so forth. Yes, what? I already went out of the context. Yes, what? Chat says yes. I don't understand. I already went far ahead. Yes, what exactly? I have to do the full cycle. That's what you mean. Yes, what? Okay, useless. All right, so yes, full cycle. Okay. That's kind of strange. Like, why? Is that because it's asynchronous? Full cycle. Thank you so much. That's bizarre. All right, this is because of the asynchronous nature. That's why. Okay, so let's try to do that. Now this is that operation. Okay, so and I probably have to do the full cycle in here too. Right, so we do this is server, this is client, we do send. So we do send, and then we have to do receive, and that means we need to have a buffer. So char buffer, let's put some like 10 in here. We might as well do receive buffer, and this is size of size of buffer. Right, and in here we just do request NBR received world, but you never tried to print the world. That's what's funny about this entire thing. So anyway, let's give it a try, and here we can maybe print something like received response, but we can't really know what that response is. Yeah, server. Fascinating. It is really not obvious that you must do the full cycle, chat. Right. It is not really obvious that if you don't do this full cycle of receive, send, it's never gonna receive, send anything, which is a good indication that they're probably doing a lot of magic behind the hood, like under the hood, which they're being very upfront with, right? So this is not something they're trying to hide. They upfront say, yes, we do a lot of magic under the hood, and that's kind of the whole point of this library, right? So because of that, you have to follow these sort of protocols, right? These sort of patterns, otherwise the magic is not gonna work, right? It's the problem of TCP and so linger. I mean, we have a whole ass freaking framework with shit ton of dependencies. I'm not supposed to think about this stuff. Rec sockets is very inflexible but simple for examples. I see. That's very interesting. So I suppose this library basically comes with lots of predefined patterns that you may encounter in different like networking applications, right? So you just like pick one of the patterns from the library and just like use it, right? So it's more of a framework rather than like a library. I think when you're using PubSub, it wouldn't require the full cycle. We'll try it at some point. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So yeah, the problem with these different patterns is that I have to read upon them, this wall of text, and it's very damaging for my attention span, right? So it is very damaging for my attention span, but this is my problem. Like I do realize that this is purely my problem. Yeah, it would be nice to just have a list of, okay, patterns and corresponding example without any yapping or anything, just like pattern, example. Yapping may be there, but it's kind of optional and behind like a spoiler or something. It's just like a pattern, example, to the point. Less yapping, more example, less yapping. So yeah, I would like to make a small break, right? So I've been streaming for like almost 2 hours and I ran out of tea, so it would be nice to make a small break, and after the break we're gonna look at some other patterns in there, right? So we're analyzing this library from the point of view of making a chat, right? So how good of a library it is for making chats, right? So what would be a good pattern for making chat in here? So that would be interesting to explore. All right, let's make some break, and we're back. People suggested on a break that what we have to use for chat and stuff, we probably have to use pub/sub pattern. So again, it would be kind of nice if I just had, okay, so here it is, pub/sub message envelopes. I'm not sure if you can see that, so let me actually zoom in one more time. Let's go there. I wonder if they're gonna give us something interesting. It's kind of difficult to see, but so here's the frame 1, frame 2, and stuff like that. Okay, so in the pub/sub pattern, we can split the key into separate messages. I don't know what key they're referring to, so they imply that I'm gonna be reading everything. That's very bad way of writing reference manual when you expect you know, reading in a sequential order, right? So you should expect people to read out of order. As already somebody said on the stream, the author sells books, and that's why there's a lot of yapping in the documentation. Well, that's kind of bad. Maybe it's good for the books, but for the documentation, for reference stuff, it's kind of bad. Right, so low-level API. Well, I mean, I can read about low-level API in a header file, right? So if I open this kind of thing, it gives you the minimal documentation. Right, okay, so that's not particularly useful. Messages, yeah, not particularly useful. I just want to have a pub sub and just like a small example. And honestly, as already said, I want a table. Name of the pattern, example. Name of the pattern, example. Name of the pattern, example. And go away with the yapping. Like, remove the yapping. That would have been absolutely nice. But it's not the case, so we have to go through the yapping. So socket and patterns, and it takes so much time to load it up. Damn. So messaging patterns. Underneath the brown paper wrapping. Oh, so much noise. Okay. So pub sub, which connects a set of publishers to the set of subscribers. Set of publishers to the set of subscribers. Okay, exclusive puzzle which connects two sockets exclusively. This is not what we want, probably. So we looked at the first 3 chapter basics. Pub sub. Okay. High level messaging patterns. I just don't want to read that. Like, this looks like straight up generated by ChatGPT. It probably was written before the GPT era, but all of that is just like it's ChatGPT yapping. It's just like, I don't want to read that. I don't want to read that. Advanced request reply patterns. I don't want to read that. I'm a technical engineer. I don't want to read any of that shit. Pools. So this one is a little bit more interesting. So multi-part messages, dynamic discovery. Okay, so this one might be interesting actually. So dynamic discovery problem. Okay, so request reply client will already look into that. Request reply. Okay. Messaging queue brokers in C. So this is again replies. Task work, task parallel killing. That is frustrating. This is really frustrating. Like, they really expect you to read all of that yapping. It's insane. Bro, this is borderline like, and like I want to focus on pub sub. I start reading and it's talking, we can split the key. What the fuck is the key? Like, do I have to read all of that to understand what is the key? Can you just tell me right here what the fuck is the key? Why do you force me to read all of that shit? I'm sorry, it's just like, it's really frustrating. Like, what the fuck is the key? I don't want to read all of that. It's irrelevant to what I'm trying to do. Like, why do you force me to do that? So, into separate message frame that we can call an envelope. If you want to use pub sub envelopes, make them yourself. It's optional and prevent pub sub. All right, whatever. I don't give a shit. Give me an example. Okay, so this is why we do that. Like, look, an example is so fucking small and concise. It's insane how much yapping you have. Just okay, that's the example. Very simple example. Okay, like, why do we have so much yapping before? It's just like, what? Again, and there's nothing wrong with yapping, but when you put it up front, hiding actually useful information, that's a little bit obnoxious. Right. So, like, this should not be upfront. Like, this should be only when you want to go into the details. It's like, yeah, so I want to get quickly up to speed. And then, if I have some questions, okay, I may go into the yapping. Like, don't put that up front. Like, this is really obnoxious. I'm sorry. Like I'm just saying what I see, right? So they're just being honest. Okay. So you create like this is a publisher, right? So you want to publish some stuff. So this is a publisher. S send more. S send. Interestingly, right, so, and there's these two functions, right, and here's an interesting thing. What's the difference between them? I'm sure it is explained in the wall of yapping, right, but we didn't read it. So let's actually go to ZeroMQ.h. Send more. And here's an interesting thing. This is function that doesn't really exist, but they do Z helpers, and we don't have Z helpers in here. There's some utilities in here, and this is okay. So let's take a look at the stuff in here. Let me find z helpers.h. It's not there. Well, I mean, I'm supposed to define. I'm sorry. Like I'm getting a little bit tired. Helpers.h. It's not there. So people were telling me that there is additional repo, ZeroMQ. Well, where am I looking at? Okay, so yeah, so I think it's somewhere. Yeah, so there is additional repo on top of libzmq specifically for like high-level C bindings. I suspect that Z helper is located there. Or is that Z helpers specifically for this documentation? Oh, note that the helper also provides. Okay, let's actually try to look into this additional repo. This is what people told me exists there. These docs suck ass. I could not agree more. Okay, so let's do clone, and I'm gonna do depth1, and I'm gonna do recursive. Right, and let's actually see what's gonna happen. So I suppose, right, it doesn't really have that many dependencies or anything like that. Right, so, okay, z helpers.h. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. F name. Did I copy paste it correctly? Okay, Z helpers is not located neither in libzmq nor czmq. What the fuck is Z helpers? Okay. It's part of the examples. They literally did that thing. They hid a lot of code behind some sort of a header, and the header it's not even available. Chat. This is bad. Like I don't really want to go hard on this library because this library has a very serious reputation. Right, it's a very serious library. A lot of serious people talk about it. A lot of serious people use it. So this library got reputation. So I don't want to go hard on it. But man, these docs are garbage. I'm sorry. I'm really fucking sorry. It's bad. It is really, really bad. And just like, I'm really sorry to tell you, it's just like, this is my experience. This is bad. Like, it's unusable. What the fuck is that shit? Excuse me. For a library with such reputation, this is very bad. Damn. Ooh. Maybe that's intentional. I don't know. Maybe that's intentional as a way of gatekeeping. Like, so, like it's not helpful. You're wasting somebody's time. You're wasting a lot of somebody's time. Okay, so this is basically the additional functions that we were missing, right? So, and again, I'm trying to search for Z helpers. I don't see Z helpers anywhere on the page. Or any reference where I can find it. It's just like, oh yeah, there is some Z helpers, go find it. Go fucking find it. And the only way we could find it, we put it in Google, and apparently it's in a repo here in ZGuide. Again, this library is a serious library used by serious people, but docs are kind of mid. Okay, so send more. What the fuck is send more? It's just a send. Could you not just use send in that case? Did you really need to? It uses flag. Cool. Can you just explicitly use that flag then? Like, bro. And also you have just send, which is... Was that level of very anal indirection necessary? What did it improve in terms of readability? And it's like it abstracting away a literally single function call. It's useless. This wrapper is fucking useless. It's for strlen. Well, I'm trying to give it like a fair chance. Like I'm really trying, right? So, and I'm constantly thinking, am I being unreasonable or it really sucks ass? Like I constantly need to make like a reality check. Serious library with a lot of reputation. I see docs that suck ass. Like, do I have to like explicitly say that? I feel like I have to explicitly call that out. It sucks ass. It's just like it's bad. It's fucking bad. All right, so. Pub sub, doing pub sub and shit. So send more and yeah. So send strings as ZeroMQ string as multi-part non-terminal. This one is very interesting. So you can send send more. We don't want to see this. Okay, wrote to messages. I'm pretty sure they kind of explain why. Like what's up with all of that in this wall, which I didn't read, so yeah. We don't want to see this. B, we would like to see this. We never get here, but clean up anyhow. Okay, so we also sleep in here as well, like every kind of second. This looks like it was written in a specific production context and only spun out as a library later. Could be. It actually could be the case, right? It could be the case. Yeah. Sounds reasonable. Sounds reasonable. So client will subscribe to key topic. Okay, so this one is a publisher. This is a subscriber. This is a subscriber. And we connect. And these are basically the topics, right? So it's B topic. And through send more, we kind of, yeah, we're sending messages at specific topics. Like, you see, you don't even need this wall to explain that concept. You could have just provided these two examples, and it's kind of obvious from this example what the fuck is going on, right? So you've got topics, you subscribe to specific topic, and like you send messages at different topics. Like, you don't need too much like natural text to describe that. Like, you really don't need to. People are not stupid. Right. At least some of them. Right. Have a little bit of a respect for developers. Right. So it's a serious hardcore library for serious hardcore engineers. Like, have a little bit of a respect for them. Respect for their time. Like, for real. Seriously. I'm sorry. I'm just a little bit upset because I came to this library with like open-minded, like with knowledge that it has a great reputation, and it's kind of like a little bit of upsetting seeing that. It's just a bit upsetting. And it's just like, bro, really? Bro. So many cool shit. People say so many cool things about this library, and it's just like, it's very upsetting to see that. Imagine how profitable having such docs for people who sell courses. Well, I mean, it's like kind of weird. Like, I don't like this kind of tactics. If it was made like that intentionally to sell more courses to more books, like, it's kind of icky to me. Like, I don't really like this kind of stuff, honestly. Especially as the person who's trying to make things as accessible as possible is just like, yikes, 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 yikes. Anyways, capitalism. Well, I mean, I don't think it has anything to do with capitalism, but maybe it does. Anyways, so let's actually have some examples. We can try pub sub example, right? So let's make a publisher. So maybe we can have something like, yeah, let's call it pub. Right, so this is going to be pub. By the way, in Knob, what we can do is we can create a folder, a build folder, right? Because we have a little bit of a garbage in here, so I'd like to maybe clean things up a little bit. Right, so let's have build folder. Somebody outside doing some shenanigans. All right, so this is a build folder and the build slash. All right, and if you could not create this, just return 1. And the thing I want to do in here is just basically build folder. Brother man build. Okay, so let me remove all of the executables. And now if I try to do brother man build, it kind of did work, but we don't have a pub C, right? So let's do ZeroMQ, and yeah, arc. Well, let's not actually create anything in here. Okay, so this is a pub, and let's actually also create sub. So this is a pub and sub. Cool, but sub.c. Boom. Cool. So let's start with the publisher. I'm gonna go into the server and I'm gonna copy paste some stuff, specifically version, creating context, creating socket, right, at least for now. But for some of these things, I would like to maybe even just assert that ctx not equal to null, right? Let's just like create assert. Don't really want to do a real error checking, but just a simple assert I think is more than enough. Just a simple assert. So context publisher, so we can also want to create like a pub. All right. So maybe I'm gonna even split. Yeah, cool. So this is the publisher. So we do pub, and when we bind, all right. So we do have to do the bind. With a specific address, and so we can just do something like this. So 6969, and we're gonna assert return to be greater or equal than 0, right? So I know that the negative one is an error, so that means I'm gonna treat positive as greater or equal than 0. That makes sense in my opinion. That makes sense. So, and in here we actually do sleep. That's what's interesting, right? So it relies on sleeping. Can I actually, does ZeroMQ has its own sleep which sleeps until you receive something on a publisher? Is it possible to just like have some sort of like ZeroMQ sleep on the socket, on the publisher? Is that a thing? Or something like that? So do you have some, oh. Okay, so there is a special ZeroMQ sleep. Question, why in the examples you're using POSIX sleep instead of the ZeroMQ sleep then? Speaking about the quality of the examples, we already kind of discussed the quality of the examples and I'm kind of over it. Right, so it relies on sleeping. I might be a ZeroMQ, I don't know. So yeah, let me see. So is there any other sleeping? Yeah, so this is the only one. Kind of weird. Kind of weird that it relies on that. And but anyway, so maybe I'm gonna actually do publisher, right? Publisher. Kind of too much of changing in here, but okay. And by the way, it doesn't even accept the socket. So that's the thing. So it doesn't really have this concept that just go to sleep until somebody sends anything on the socket. It literally doesn't have that concept in the library. Publisher never waits on a socket except when sending and the queue is full. Ah, right. So yeah, you don't have to think about that apparently. But why do we sleep? Ah, sleeping is probably... Okay, I see what's going on. Sleeping here, I think I realize what's going on, is to emulate some sort of work. Right, so for example, here is the server, right? And it's just like sometime, periodically, I just send something to people who subscribe. Okay, I see what's going on. I see what's going on. Right, so that makes sense. Okay, so I understand. Though you could have just used ZeroMQ sleep, right? So again, you could have just used ZeroMQ sleep. All right. So let's take a look at the this thing, and we're gonna be using you know, ZeroMQ send directly, right? So that's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be using ZeroMQs directly. Well, okay, so we might as well just copy paste, send more. Let's copy paste them, but we're gonna be copy pasting them inside of our example, right? So we're going to be copy pasting it inside of our example. So this is a send more, and yeah. So publisher A. So maybe we can rename some of these things. Like, I don't like copy pasting things right away, but this is what I'm doing in here. It's kind of dumb, but we can actually put some users in here. So who wants to be a user? Honestly, these could be actually specific chat rooms. Right, so if we're implementing a chat, we can make topics as specific chat rooms. So because of that, we can have something like memes. Right, so this is one of the topics that we may have in here. So what other topics we can have? Like we can have general. Right, so you may subscribe to memes, but you can like mute the general or something like announcements, right? So we're making like a Discord clone. So this is a different topics that we have in here. Right. No general 2, yeah, no general 2. And then, yeah, we just send things here as well, right? So we just send things here. All right, and what we're gonna be sending into the memes? So publisher, I don't know, just get a health forehead. No. Right, I'm just thinking, so just get a house, so here in the general, we can get something like a poggers announcement, the stream has started. So this is basically different messages in different you know, in different rooms and stuff like that. And we can be sending them like every second, like every new second, we're just publishing something new. And by the way, who said that we have to use strings? We can actually serialize, you know, structures. We can send actual bytes. That's what we can do, right? So that makes sense. That actually makes sense. So in here we do cleanup, but we're not going to be doing cleanup. In here I can even do something like maybe assert unreachable. Right, so this is unreachable. Reach the unreachable. Okay, so we'll get that. That's pretty cool. Now, if I go ahead and try to rebuild the whole thing. Okay, so let's go to the compilation errors. It doesn't like that I don't have a string. So this is going to be string. Do we need anything else? S publisher. So it's called publisher now. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. And we can also do something like this. Publishing on S. And we just put address in here. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty cool. By the way, this thing is still listening. So now I can do pub and publishing in here. Right, and so we're waiting on the incoming connections. That's pretty cool. Now we need to create the subscriber, right? So let's create a subscriber. Now sub.c. In a subscriber, we can just reuse some of the code in here. Right, so we can copy paste this entire thing. We can even accept the topic we're subscribing to through command line arguments. Who said we can't do that? We can actually do that, I think. I think we can do that. Right, so this is the sub, so this is pub sub, and this is not a publisher anymore, right? So it's specifically subscriber. Oh, and by the way, I think I'm starting to understand this key and data. Because we do send, we send them in separate frames. Okay, now I fucking understand what it means. After trying the examples, I fucking understand what that means. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Right, you see, like examples are more superior than yapping, right? Just by going through the examples and just like looking through them, I instantly understand now what the fuck is this thing talking about. Examples. Less yapping, more examples. Less yapping, more examples. Anyways, so what do we have? So we do subscriber. This is just like a ZeroMQ. So you also do set sock option. I wonder if you can actually set like several subscription options. Yep, under the code. Yeah. So yep with the code. As receive free. Ew, brother. Ew. Some nasty shit is leaking through the abstractions. You guys see that? You guys see that? There's some nasty shit that is leaking through abstraction, almost like literally. I'm almost afraid to look into the implementation of sReceive, because if you have to free, I'm afraid to look into that. Oof. My locking freeing in a loop. Oof. So you even have like a buffer in here, then you Brovsky. Brovsky. Brother. Ew, brother. What's that? What's that, brother? Some sort of a temporary, like, arena would have been nice in here, honestly. Some sort of temporary arena, right? So you just like receive some stuff, but even then, like, you don't need to do that, right? So, and it's not like you're gonna extend, right? Don't you? So you have capacity. Yeah, it's just like you're gonna have a limited capacity nonetheless. In num, by the way, in num is needed to sort of like create a constant in here, so it's kind of. Well, I mean, you could have just done size of, bro. What kind of version of C is that? What kind of version of C just doesn't have a size of for you to just take and. This is more complicated than it should have been, because, yeah, I don't want to do that. Go away with this stuff. I don't want to do that. It's a really bad way of doing that. Anyway, so is that a common thing using num to create a local constant? Yeah, it is. It is a pretty common trick, but it's kind of a weird way to do that in here, right? So, and it forces you to do constant malloc free, but at the same time, you're mallocing free in a very small object, and usually modern implementations of allocators are capable of dealing with that anyway, so it's kind of fine. So it is kind of fine nonetheless. It is kind of fine. All right, so I'm in a sub. So they call it a subscriber, a le subscriber. Okay, so let me maybe query replace publisher. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, publisher, subscriber, boom. So then we created a socket, then we can say listening, okay, subscribing to this specific address. Then we are connecting, right, so we are connecting to this thing, we're connected to this thing. And we probably want to also set an option, right? So we want to listen to specific topic or specific channel. So we can even maybe have a, I don't know, like a topic that tells you the list of all of the topics periodically or something like that. But anyway, anyway. So we're gonna be only listening, let's say we're gonna be only listening to the memes, right? So we only care about the memes because when you join the Discord server, that's the only channel you give a fuck about, honestly. So here's the return, and we can also assert that it's fine. So then in here, I'm gonna do while true, and what I need to do, I need to receive something. So you read the envelope with the address, and I suppose that address is basically the topic, right? So let's do just a buffer in here. So I'm gonna allocate it like a 256 buffer, and then we're gonna do ZeroMQ receive. We already done receive in some other places. So here's how you do that. You provide the socket, right? So this is a subscriber, and the buffer and size of the buffer and 0. Do they provide any flags for the receives? I didn't think so. I think, yeah, so they don't provide any flags for the receives, so that's totally fine. So, and that gives us the size. So this gives us the n. So we're going to assert that n is greater or equal than 0. I'm not sure if it can be equal to 0, but I'm going to assume that it may be equal to 0. I don't know. And this is our topic, right? So, and to avoid allocating and deallocating memory, let's freaking just print it as it is, right? So we have a buffer, we can say things. So topic, or maybe let's call it channel, right? So this is the channel, so this is going to be S. And I don't remember in which order. I think this is how we do that, right? So then you can say N and buffer. You don't really need to allocate additional memory. You can just print sized strings, right? So we can just print sized strings. Y5, set 1 to 5. I don't remember what she's saying. Okay, whatever. So, and then we can receive the next one, right? So we're receiving the next one, which is that, and this is our message, right? So, and it's easy in terms of managing memory, in my opinion, honestly. Just saying. So for the consistency, I want to even do something like this, right? So look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. So that's pretty cool. Now let me see if it even compiles. While 5. Wait, really? Okay, whatever. Like you guys are wasting my time. Okay, so let's fucking go. Assert. It's once assert. Assert. All right, so that seems to be working. That seems to be working. Okay, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Okay, so publishing. Subscribing. All right, we got just get a house, and we're getting just get a house every second in the channel memes. So that's what we're receiving. That's pretty cool, and that's exactly what we expected. So what if I try to subscribe to more things, right? So in a publisher we have general, right? So let's also subscribe to general. Is that something that may happen? Right, so I'm gonna also assert like this. Right, so can I subscribe to several of them? I'm gonna recompile this entire thing, and I don't even have to restart the publisher. Okay. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, so I periodically receive things. So I receive from memes, then from general. Yeah, okay, now I receive both of the things. Okay, so pub sub actually works, and yeah, through that we can establish a very simple protocol, right? We can establish a very simple protocol where through different topics, like you can treat topics as channels, for instance, right? And you can send messages and stuff like that. Yeah, I can see that being more or less useful for like chats. It would be kind of interesting to implement like a very simple chat, like actual chat application with this pub sub idea. Right, but it's definitely not for today's stream, right? So today we're just trying out the library, right? And just seeing how useful could it be. Discord replacement, well, I mean, it's kind of shooting for the stars, but I mean, why not just try a simple chat application like for at that we developed some time ago. The library itself, right? So this particular pattern is actually kind of cool. I'll give you that. It is actually kind of cool. The documentation is trash. I'm sorry. Like creators of ZeroMQ, please, no offense. And if you watched my struggle with your documentation, I think you would understand Documentation is trash, like straight up. No offense. Sorry, I'm just saying how it is. The library is kind of cool, right? So the fact that I can just like throw together pub sub like so quickly, right? If I know how to do that, right? So the documentation kind of prevents me from doing that super quickly, but if I know how to do that, I can do that very quickly. The fact that I can do that very quickly is kind of cool. It's kind of a cool library, right? So that's my conclusion after spending how much time? 2.5 hours of pure time looking at this library. This is my first impression of the library. The library is kind of cool. The library is kind of based. Documentation is straight up trash. Again, I'm sorry, no offense. Documentation is trash. But I mean, you can kind of get used to that. You can kind of get used to that. So the fact that it's written in C++, I don't know, like I'm kind of conflicted on that. C++ probably adds a lot of useful tools for managing complex code bases, right? It adds array AI, right? So which makes it easier to manage memory and stuff like that. But it adds a little bit more stuff in terms of runtime, right? So we already experienced that when we were trying to link statically, right? So you need to have C++ runtime, so it adds additional moving parts. But maybe library worth it, right? So just like up to you whether you're okay with paying that additional runtime price, right? So usually people are okay. Looking at the modern applications and how much stuff they carry along, Electron, right? So people are kind of okay with even more bloated shit. So I don't know, maybe I'm being a boomer about that. So, so yeah. So that's my first impression about this library. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this library? I kind of, like after trying the pub sub example, right, I kind of want to try develop something more complex. And by the way, now, after trying out the pub sub example, I don't mind going into the yap mines, right? Mine some yapping stuff, mine some information out of yapping shit. Like, I don't mind, right? So again, I think examples first, then yapping, right? Don't put yapping first, like examples first. I want to explore examples, get rough intuition. Okay, now I'm interested about like details about all of that stuff. Okay, so I can now look into that. And maybe I'm gonna look into this yapping off screen, right? So I don't mind now look into the yapping. Yap mines, right? I mean, basically grinding all of that yap wall and extracting information out of it, right? So that's what I meant. That's what I meant. All right, so we'll get some subs, by the way. We'll get some subs. So let me take a look at that. So thank you so much, Perelman, I hope I pronounced your nickname correctly, for 100 bits with the message pub sub indeed. And also thank you so much for tier 1 subscription. All right, so I guess that's it for today. Very interesting library, very interesting session. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a good one, and I see you all on the next recreation programming session with Ahu chat, Ahu, Mr. Azuzin. I love you all. Oh.